Ebony, what do you think dyke means?
Hmm. I think dyke means a masculine woman who prefers to dress in masculine clothing that is comfortable to them.
Okay. Well, we're going to dive into it in just a second. Whether you're listening for the first time or already a part of our community, I'm your host, JJ, and this is another episode of Unstrapped the Podcast. Today's episode features a guest of the podcast. Our word of the day is dyke. Our topic of the day is what is home? So unstrap, sit back and relax. Let's get into it. A little bit about our guest today. I met Ebony on TikTok. They are someone who has some interest in starting their own podcast, so hopefully we get to tune in soon. And they're incredibly excited to share their story with us. Similar to me, they want to better connect with the broader mass community, and I'm thankful they chose our platform to do so. So, Ebony, tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself. What do you identify as?
I identify as a masculine woman myself. Some people will consider me a stud, or a mask, or a butch. Yeah,
What are your preferred pronouns?
I go by she, they.
Okay. And tell us where we can follow you.
You can follow me on my TikTok, Swamp Talk, and on my Instagram is ebsabs, and that is EBS_AVEES.
Okay. So, last question. Let our listeners know, are you team strapped or unstrapped?
Team Strap.
All right. So, regardless if you're a first time listener or not, I do like to let you know where we are in the show. Right now, we're jumping into the word of the day, aka our intro, and we're going to dive into the word of the day a little bit more, which is dyke. Now, let's be clear. I am not someone you should get all your information from. I just kind of, go with the flow here. So I chose the first definition I could find, and we'll kind of talk about you know, mm, our perspectives on the word, our experiences with the word. And see where things go. So, dyke, historically a derogatory slur, it has been reclaimed by some lesbians as a term of pride, often associated with a more assertive or non-conforming identity. Use with caution and only if self-identified. So, Ebony, what are your thoughts on the word based on the definition or just your experience with the word and or people who identify as dyke?
I think in the description itself, be really cautious with the word. I think that somebody who self-identifies as a dyke, as long as they're comfortable, I feel like you should always be cautious of how you use that word to any masculine presenting person. But personally, that word has been used as a slur. Just growing up and like coming out, and just even before coming out, the word like has been used against other people during like altercations or like disagreements. So I don't have the best relationship with that word, but I can understand other masculine women who have used that word in a prideful sense.
Yeah. Um, I feel like my experience with the word has been mostly negative. Like I personally identify as a stud. Um, but that's because one, when I think of the word dyke specifically, I've always associated it with race, but that's not because I only think dykes are a certain race. It's because how I grew up, like specifically surrounded by, black and brown community, you know, dykes were always used to describe masculine white lesbians, whereas studs always described black masculine lesbians. And so I always thought that it was a word associated with race. And, even though I don't feel that way anymore, I just feel like I'm still struggling with someone kind of calling themselves what? I know that sounds crazy, but like,
Mm-hmm.
or calling me it, right? I'm not a fighter, right? I'm not going to be like super upset if you call me a dyke. I would prefer not to be called it because of how I saw it was used, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, sometimes I get a little ouch, like when I hear like somebody else use that term, and I'm glad that they're using it like proudly, and it's not in a way where they're like harming themselves or any like self doubt or anything like that. But uh, I guess like personal, like going back to my personal experience and it being used against me, um, I never was able to find, a good relationship, even when like I'm with my family members or like with some like a cis friend that is like comfortable around with me and they comfortable with me and they just like, hey, she a dyke, you don't have to worry about her. He's a dyke, you don't have to worry about it. It's just like, oh, what do you mean? Like it's given other, and that's why it's just a really hard time. I have a hard time having a good relationship with that word.
Yeah. Something I'm really, really interested in getting to know through this podcast, if I'm lucky enough, is I would love to meet someone who identifies as a dyke that also happens to not be black or brown. The reason why is because I want to know if we're sharing the same experience in the sense that, like, is the word dyke being used in a negative way in other cultures? And if so, like, how do you navigate those conversations in a way that dyke becomes a word of pride and not something that you are offended by, or just being used as a slur in general? That's something I'm really interested in. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I'm a dyke and I'm not black or brown, please come on the show or at least shoot me a DM. I would be really interested to hear your story and hear your perspective. Something I'm genuinely interested in. But let's keep getting into some good conversations. Let's jump into our segment called Temperature Check. If you're new to this is a time for us to talk about what's on our mind nowadays. With no pressure to say anything specific or act a certain way. Like, these are just raw thoughts. So, Ebony, like, what's on your mind nowadays? Like, good, the bad, the goals. What's up?
Hmm, what's on my mind? Honestly, just living day by day. But what really catches my mind is like just each day how our community will be treated based on like a law that's being passed or something that we saw on TikTok. Um, I say this because there's been like a lot of things on TikTok of what masculine, what women should be, and how they should present and how they should show up in the world. And I feel like because social media does this thing where obviously everybody sees it, but sometimes we that can be ingrained in our head on how we should act and what we should do. And my goal right now is to dissect it and take what's important and take what's not. And I continue to live life in the perspective as how I see it and not how the world sees it.
Do you feel like, depending on what information you see out in the world, it changes in like drastic ways decisions you make in day to day? Or are you the type of person that, like, regardless of the information you consume, like, you just still make the moves that you want to move in the way that you want to move, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. Sometimes depending on like what you're seeing on social media, like sometimes I'm looking on stuff TikTok, like if they have like different fashion trends or ways you can like dress to present masculine or different like colognes or perfumes. that will be something interesting that I can take in and learn from versus like it's like a whole debate on like he him lesbians, like what how does that relate to me and like my identity and like what can I take and what can I pull from that, because I feel like there's like a whole debate with just the L and the T in our community and like what it means just to be you.
Interesting. So would you say then you're in a place in your life where you're still defining who you are in a sense?
Yes, I would say that. I say that because I consider myself a lesbian. However, I'm leaning into like different parts of my identity, if whether that's like growing up my sideburns or like growing like a mustache or facial hair. And because on because of what we see on social media, like the he him debates or like you can't identify, I mean, you can't be like a butch and go by he, him, but still be a lesbian. I guess I have like thoughts of that, or like I have personal experience that I'm trying to navigate through my gender expression and my identity, and not to get caught up with what society expects from you.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that at least you're in a place where you know you're on the journey, and it sounds like you're taking it easy on yourself as you go through it, because it can be rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, top of mind for me right now, um, like I hope I'm not saying the same thing in every podcast episode, but really the top of mind for me is literally the podcast, more specifically working with masked lesbians and just the queer community in general, and how I notice a lot of people are just like going through some serious, serious things right before we either record, or maybe sometimes it prevents them from recording with me. And I feel really, really bad, not just because people are going through what they're going through, but because I'm someone who, like, I'm in the tech world. I'm a nerd. Like, I can help you with anything related to computers or the internet itself. But managing situations and feelings is something I'm not great at, right? So I talk to a therapist about all that. But like, I'm realizing because of the demographic I'm going to be speaking to on this podcast, I need to educate myself more on how to manage certain situations, if that makes sense. You know, like, for example, I spoke to someone on DM, you know, actually just before our recording. Um, and, you know, they were unable to record me. And that's okay. Like, the fact that people are willing to, even if I don't know majority of y'all, fun fact, more than 80% of the people that I've already recorded with and I've yet to record with are people I just met, like you, on TikTok, which
Well,
I think is kind of dope. But it also means that there's so much that I'm going to have to navigate with every interaction. And I want to make sure that I can find a way to keep checking myself and making sure that I'm handling these human beings in the time that we are interacting the best way I can. Um, and I feel like that might not sound specific, but in my heart, I know what I'm trying to do. And I know that my goal is just to figure out what I should do and improve from there. Right. I'm going to make mistakes, but I know it's something I got to keep on in, like, at the top of my head when I talk to whether it's you or anyone else related to this podcast, before, after, or during recordings. So yeah, but outside of like how do I manage people and the things they go through, I think I'm just in a place where I'm just feeling very grateful to even like get this far with this podcast and to find a way to like make my vision clearer and to make it actually happen. Because I don't lie to anybody. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a content creator. I didn't make podcasts in the past, at least for myself, right? I used to dip and dab and, give people suggestions on stuff, but like, this is all new to me. And so you're getting to know me on this podcast, in this episode and others, um, in the most raw way possible. So I just really hope that even if it's one person that really connects with me and all of these amazing people I'm bringing on here, like that means a lot to me. That's what matters at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's jump into our other segment called doom scrolling. And doom scrolling is a time when we get to talk about like what we're seeing on social media or the news, and like what are our thoughts and opinions on it. And yeah, Ebony, you were telling me a little earlier that something's happening with Jojo Siwa. Now, for people who don't know who Jojo Siwa is, can you kind of tell us who that is and like what you've been learning about them? And, tell me what your thoughts and opinions are, and I'll kind of jump in with mine.
Yeah. So honestly, I don't know too much about JoJo Siwa, like her background, but I do know that she was a young dancer on Dance Moms, and just growing up, uh, that's like where most of her popularity, from what I know of her, where it came from. And currently in the news, what I've seen on TikTok is I know that JoJo Siwa was part of the LGBTQ community. She was part of the community, but there's a segment on Big Brothers where she was caught cuddling with a man, and she was in a relationship at that time. And I was just curious on others people's thoughts on this, because I've seen people get upset on the fact that you know she basically cheated on her partner, and her partner being upset and seeing this on the social media. And like, I know that Jojo Siwa said that the love was lost, but I was curious like how other people felt about this. And I was talking to my partner, and they mentioned that just to keep in mind that Jojo Siwa came from what seems like a difficult background, with just being on Dance Moms. And like, I know that the mom herself, or the instructor, was really hard on her, like when it comes to her dancing and being perfect, and her growing up really fast, not being able to really explore her sexuality. I know that on Dance Moms, majority of the people, well, on her team was like girls, and then like growing up, probably being surrounded by other women and girls. So I wondered, does that contribute to her actions as well? Does that contribute to her trying to seek, not trying to seek, but like explore her sexuality? And if that is, um uh like, do we, not to say do we disown her, but like, could Jojo Siwa also be somebody who is representing the LGBTQ community, and that people see and look up to her? And like, what does that mean for the mass majority of us, of the other people in the community?
Yeah, so like I was kind of looking it up a little bit too, just to get some, a little bit of background context, and it seems like you've kind of covered it. The first question I had was like, what did she identify as? And it sounds like she did identify as a lesbian, but now she's identifying as queer. And I feel like Jojo Siwa is probably at an age, right? Which looks like she was born May 19th, 2003. Oh, damn. Now I really need to treat baby girl with some care because we were born on the same day. Just not the same year. So she's 21. I want to say that it's okay to change. right? I feel like sexuality is fluid, and I just don't say that because I've heard other people say that. Like, I genuinely believe that. I also believe that unrelated to like your sexuality, it's okay to, you know, change things up in terms of who you love and who you are interacting with sexually. I think everyone should be free to do so as long as they're not hurting anybody, right? Like, I feel like
Mhm.
she cheated on someone, and so that sucks because she has hurt someone. Um, and so like poo poo on that, right? But like outside of that, I feel like, hey, if JoJo wanted to like be with someone else, like cool. And if that someone else didn't align with how they identified out loud, as sexually, cool. I think also, I don't know about you, Ebony, but like I have a lot of friends who are poly. I have a lot of friends who are poly, and I usually, no, I actually don't. I don't judge scenarios where people cheat because the cheating is bad. But what usually it points to is I personally don't believe everyone needs to be a monogamous relationship. And because monogamy is what is pushed out to us by default, when people feel like they need to choose between people that they love or need to choose between people that they're having, you know, sexual intimacy with, I think that's where these cheating moments come from. That's not always the case. Like, there's some people who like just like cheating. I'm not even gonna hold you. Some people love the act of cheating. Some people love the act of hurting others. But I'm talking about a specific case where like people feel like they need to choose. I think I wish society was more open so at least we can figure out what people's intentions are and then we can judge that. I know that was like a long-winded way of saying like I'm giving JoJo some grace here to continue to grow into whoever they want to be.
Yeah.
But also I would love if I could speak to them directly to try, and it's not going to be perfect every time, but to try and just make sure you're not hurting others in that process. I think that's okay.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think that you gave me a bigger perspective on it. I didn't even consider the thought of her possibly wanting to be poly or being poly. And I I agree that I mean, I know I grew up on this it has to be like just two people in a relationship. And I guess like if you seeing this on news and seeing it, like if somebody's seeing it and they are engaged or they're in a partnership, it may affect them because they could never imagine their partner doing it. So also putting it into perspective that hey, JoJo could be possibly poly, and maybe they haven't expressed this out loud to you know, to social media, and which they do not have to, but it does give more clarity on the actions that she took. But also I really like that the thought of, talking to these celebrities in person, because we would never know, their how their mindset is, or like why they did what they did, and why is it justified.
Word. And then the only reason why I even brought up the idea of like if I could talk to her directly is because it's really easy for those of us who are not celebrities or people who don't identify as celebrities. It's really easy for us to pass judgment on them because we know deep down that the chances of us actually being able to sit down and have a conversation with that person is slim to none. And even if you were to meet that person, let's be honest, most people really wouldn't just approach JoJo Siwa and be like, well, why are you
Mhm.
like a hoe? Well, why are you cheating? Like, nah, that's not what's going to happen in real life. Let's keep it a bean.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, Jumping into something else, I shared with you on TikTok. A young lady posted a video, about how there are people out there who are obsessed with masculine presenting women or lesbians that are quote unquote beautiful according to society's beauty standards. And there's no problem with that, right? The problem that she flags and that I want to talk about for a minute is just because you like how beautiful someone is based on society's beauty standards doesn't necessarily mean you like their identity. And so, and I think that's so true. Like there are plenty of people that like look at a beautiful person or are dating someone or are intimate with someone that falls into certain beauty standards, and then they go ahead and change their whole identity. But the reality is that's really not the case, is it? Right? And so like I'm just curious, Ebony, like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought that she brought up a great point, and that is beauty standards does take a big play when it does come to like people being respectful to mask, if that makes sense.
Right.
I just have so many personal stories of like um going somewhere that is like maybe cis dominated, and they seeing me as either a girl or a guy because I'm really androgynous, and seeing me as a girl or a guy, and them then treating me based on how they perceive me. If I'm perceived as like a little boy at that time, um they will treat me as a young boy, if that's more rough or like kind of dismissive, versus if I'm presenting more feminine that day, they will treat me more as a woman, if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
more feminine or like respectful. And I've experienced sitting with other mask and woman coming up to us and saying hi to me, but walking past other masks and saying not to you, like, hey, I don't want to say hi to you, but it's obvious like what they're trying to get at. And I also wanted to talk about when it does come to attractiveness or not, just because I'm masked, that doesn't mean I immediately want you or I like you, or just because I'm attractive, that doesn't mean you immediately have a chance with me. I think that attractiveness does play a big part when it comes to getting respect or not. And I wish that it wasn't the case because everybody deserves respect. And yeah, that's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, I want to say I've definitely seen plenty of scenarios where um it's usually like I've only ever seen femmes do this, especially ones that are specifically bisexual. All right, I'm sorry, this is no attack to that community, but I'm just saying, what my experiences are. I've seen quite a few bisexual femmes pick and choose mask lesbians based on how fair or light skinned they are, based on how aligned they are to what they would look like if they were more feminine, but they just happen to be in masculine, maybe clothing or mannerisms or whatever. And then they make the mistake of thinking, oh, I'm into mask. But it may not be that. Like, you just might be into someone who happens to be masked. And I think that sentence is completely different. And it's something that I wouldn't say is an issue within our community. I would say it's an issue with the individuals that like are still trying to figure out the difference. And honestly, it's one that doesn't really hurt anybody unless you explicitly say something hurtful, right? Like I feel like if you're one of those people that's attracted to very specific mask, cool, but don't say or do anything to the people that you're not attracted to that are also masked that will make them feel less than because
Yeah,
you're trying to figure out your situation. You feel me? Like,
yeah.
I think that's the nicest way I can explain it.
I think you explained it really well. I again like I see this on social media or like TikTok, whether that's like basically saying like, hey, you have to dress a certain way, you have to present a certain way to be masked, or to be trans, you have to like be a certain way. And I think that everybody, it presents differently. I know personally, I grew from, coming out wanting to be dressed down like so super masculine to the point I couldn't even recognize myself or know myself. And now I'm dressing more comfortable with just the clothes that I have, the sweatpants. And I may not have the flyest sneakers or the newest Jordans, but I I have a good head on my shoulders, if that makes sense. I feel like I am still beautiful. I'm still attractive, and sometimes people take advantage of that because you may not have the newest shoes or the drippiest of clothing. Then this is not the mask that I want, or like they will post like these is the type of stuff you into. Like, what you mean by that?
And I appreciate that you are so grounded. Because like I said, I'm 31. I know you're several years younger than me, but I just appreciate that you appreciate the little things and are able to have some perspective on what you are, what you are not, what you have and what you don't. And I feel like that really helps us dive into what I'm really excited for you to share, which is your story as it relates to the main topic today, which is, you know, what is home? So, Ebony, if you are comfortable enough sharing, can you tell us what is home to you?
Yeah. Home, the biggest word that comes to me when it comes to home is stability. Being able to rest, being able to cook, being able to clean, or to think, to pray, to laugh, to sing. That is home to me. And to do it in the comfort of your space. Um, Julia, I know we touched a little bit on my story, but 4 years ago, I was not in a predicament to have a home or to be stable. 4 years ago, I was homeless. And through my homelessness journey, I had to figure out what home meant to me. At one point, home was my body. At one point, home was the clothes on my back. Home was making sure to get at least one meal in and have a blanket at nighttime. Um, so home is definitely stability and comfort to me.
Can you walk us through your whole journey, or maybe not the whole journey, but like walk us through the highlights of your journey and where you're at now and where you're trying to go?
Most definitely. My highlight of my journey just started with coming out. I remember it was my first year, my first second year into college. Had my first girlfriend, my first partner, and was so excited to share with my family. And initially, when I came out, it was like, it's a phase, it's a phase. That situation, those moments. And when I actually popped out with my partner, and it wasn't a phase anymore, then it was, contradicting or conflicting. And it was a point where that partner at the time um, was coming from a Haitian family, and uh, in their culture, the religion, they, you know, was very homophobic. They wasn't really accepting of the LGBTQ or of me. And it, w- my mom did not like my partner at the time. It was like a lot of like jealousy and like situation where they didn't like my partner. They didn't like the fact that I was gay. So me and my partner ended up sleeping outside, and that was all around New York City, from the parks to the trains, and at one point, going to different states. And during that time, I had to, live day by day and do what I had to do to survive. And being homeless and being masculine and, being gay, that openly gay, like that takes a toll on just your mindset and, how comfortable I was. Again, I know earlier I talked about, when I first came out, I was like super masculine. And my masculinity, like, was like, I don't know, really, really like more leaning towards like my trans identity. And that came with like conflicted views on how I view myself, and I just felt forced to be in my masculine energy all the time. Um Being homeless and living in New York and telling people what was right and what was wrong. And fast forward, I was able to get into a program. Um, it's a program named the California Center, and they help get young clients, ages 16 to 24, back housed, and they was like my safety net. And from there, I was able to get back into school, graduate. I was able to find my voice, find different parts of my identity, feel comfortable. At one point I didn't know about pronouns, and now my pronouns are being respected. At one point I didn't know. I'm so uncomfortable going around family, and now when I go around family, I feel really comfortable, and they're able to accept me, and I'm able to explain who I am in my journey. And now through the program, I was able to be housed, and from then, like, work my way up into being an advocate and like helping other young clients find their voice and share their stories as well.
That's incredible. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I am curious. One, because I'm genuinely curious, but two, I know someone in my life who is unhoused, and I actually met someone else through this podcast that is learning how to navigate the homelessness systems here in New York. Um, I would love it if you could give some advice to someone who is trying to navigate either homelessness in New York City or homelessness in general. Like, what would you tell yourself when you first started this journey?
Just always know that it gets better, but it's that mindset. You have to know that it gets better. Um, don't forget who you are. Before you was homeless, who were you? Were you the person who was drawing? Were you the person who was dancing? Did you actually like school? You know, um, and always keep remaining grounded in the fact that your situation gets better. Because once you lose that faith, it can be a delusion, and you can fall into a delusion. Um, Always try your best to make a safety net, to always have friends you can turn to, and just always always remember that it gets better, and that one door closes but another door opens. And this is just part of the experience. If I never went through my journey, um I would not even be here right now. I would not be able to share the story with other people. So just always remaining positive and looking for outlets. Once you I know that the shelter system may not be the best of or the most comfortable, but if you can find different outlets, different programs to help you uh, find different therapies, different therapists that you can talk to, it helped me, and I want you to know that it can possibly help others too.
Love it. I love it. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, friend. Um, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about, um, what is home for me? Home for me is not a place. it's definitely safety, a place in which I feel safe. And for that reason, I feel like I take certain actions to make sure home is where it is for me. Whether it's like my actual apartment or if I travel for work and I gotta do weird stuff to the hotel room to make me feel comfortable. In episode 1 of this podcast, I told everyone about my coming out story. And it was like a positive one, right? But I bring it up because I mentioned that when I came out, I packed all of my things into this like hybrid of like a rolling duffel bag, um, and like suitcase or whatever, and a backpack. And I remember doing a ton of research into what does it look like to be unhoused, which I believe is the politically correct term. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but I was looking into it, and if you look up homeless shelters in New York City right now, I'm pretty sure those reviews are the same, if not worse than they were back then when I looked it up. And I was really scared. I didn't know there were youth programs. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I just turned 18. I'm about to tell my mother I'm gay. I'm going to be homeless. How am I going to navigate this? I bought a ton of locks for my clothes, for like my bags or whatever. Cause I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be in a shelter, like, I don't know if I'm going to be in a room. I don't know if I'm going to be sharing a room with people, if I'm going to be in a gymnasium with people. I'm like, I just got to keep my stuff close to me. And then I told myself, what happens if I can't get into the shelter? And then I said, well, I mean, I can be outside, but you're a New Yorker too. Like, there are places you see people who do not have homes right now, but it's not as many, like it's not, at least where I live, like it's actually hard to find people who are without homes on the street. And so I'm like, damn, I don't even know how to navigate that. And so I'm saying all of that to say, like, I thought about it very deeply and it just got really, really, really scary. It got really, really, really scary. And I didn't even think twice about, well, can I go to my family? My family, for who knows what reasons, pick and choose when they, you know, are part of my family or disown me or whatever. I don't have family to turn to. And I always have been an outcast in a lot of my friendships, if not all of my friendships. And so I didn't even want to think about going to friends. And I'm like, so what next? And I'm like, you know what? There are some things I do know about myself that I can lean on. One is like, I think through everything in depth, right? I'm like, no matter what I get hit with, I know I'm going to be able to say, okay, this is the situation. Here's what I can control. Here's what I can't. And I'm just going to, no matter what, focus on what I can control. I'm going to have really, really weird feelings. Not weird, but like, I might go through depression for sure. I might cry, but I know it's going to be temporary. I know I'm not going to stay in that space. And I know that when I get out of it, I know whatever I get next is going to mean a lot because it's mine and I got myself there. And I feel like you probably for sure can relate to that. And, just being excited to kind of share your journey and how you've come out of it. And once again, you're incredibly young. So to have gone through so much, and to still be positive is incredible. And, you know, the person I'm talking about then, the 18-year-old me, was hoping that if I did have to go through something really bad, I would be more like you. And, I'm glad I didn't necessarily have to go through all of that, but it did give me an appreciation, right? Me overthinking what might happen to me after I come out did help me appreciate the home that I did have. It even made me more appreciative of my first apartment that I got by myself. Um, and even right now, as I'm speaking with you, it makes me appreciate the mindset that I have when it comes to what is home for me. And I don't know where I'm going to live in the future, whether I'm going to still be in this apartment or somewhere else, but I know I'm going to make the best out of that situation no matter what. And that's what I'm taking away from this conversation.
Yeah, I'm I'm proud of you, JJ. I'm proud of you. I think that you came a long way, and I see that you came a long way. And I mean, like, I think that, like, you started in a hotel, and now you have your own place, and just knowing that you're into tech, and seeing just the platforms that you're building, to be able to have people like me to share these resources is important. I feel like we're like that generation to come out and help younger people. Hey, this shelter that is specifically for LGBTQ, and like giving these resources so they can have places to feel more comfortable. And yeah, just that mindset, hey, things will get better. I know that I can control this right now. I know I'm in control of this right now. And knowing that you're in control of like your actions and your mind, it helps so much during that process.
Word. And like, hey, look, I didn't have the hardship. I didn't have the sad story. I know you went through what you went through, and that makes you an incredible individual. And I feel like I'm not saying you had to go through that to be the person that you are, but I just appreciate you. Like I said, connecting with me, unrelated to this podcast, but connecting to our listeners, um, and 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 just being you. Because, like I said, I've had nothing but positive experiences in the small time we've gotten to know each other. And it just makes me want to like pick you up and be like, hey, everyone, like, here's Ebony, like, listen to their story, like, hear their journey, listen to kind of their advice, and hopefully take from what you can and do better for yourself. You know what I mean? And, and like
Yeah.
I said, I literally have someone very close to me in my life that is going through something very serious when it comes to, being without a home. And like I've also had another guest who is in more or less the same space that you were in. So, maybe this was supposed to happen, this conversation, and maybe we're supposed to connect all of these people, you and these people, and making sure that this community understands what they can do together. And that right there that would be an incredible conversation to be a part of, and incredible journey to be a part of. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and it's my pleasure, honestly. I'm here to help other people. I'm not here to like gatekeep. If I can also send over those resources as well, and I really hope that your guests and that friend that's really close to you, they make the best of this situation. They come out triumphant, and it will happen.
Yeah, you know what? Like, yeah, let's get these resources over to them, and let's see if we can get it posted on the social media too. Um, I think that would be cool. So we'll talk about that after the show wraps up. But like I said, thank you so much for being here, being present, being transparent. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Jay.
And yeah, thank you to you, the listener. Whether it's one of you out there or 1,000 of you, I don't know. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm really enjoying this journey, and I hope you are too. Whether you're part of the strapped or unstrapped community, the LGBTQIA plus family, or an ally, I am so grateful you're here. We have so many more people to meet, stories to share, and journeys to take together, and I'm excited you're a part of it. If you do want to keep up with us between episodes, follow us on social media, search Unstrapped the Podcast. Drop me a DM. I do answer them all, but I'm not gonna lie, it's getting kind of crazy in them DMs. Not in like a weird sexual way or something. I mean like in a y'all don't realize it. It's not a crew of people. It's just me. So I'm trying really hard to get to people in a timely fashion. But drop me a DM. I really do check them. I really do answer them, and it doesn't have to be about the podcast. It can just be about whatever. You can talk to me about being a guest. You can ask a question, show some love, or just say hi. You might even hear your question, assuming that that's what you want your question to do. You can hear your question featured on an episode during our Lost and Found bonus segment. And in case you forgot, this is a friendly reminder that we're going to drop episodes every 2 weeks on a Monday. Until next time, unstrap, sit back, and stay connected. We'll speak again soon. Bye, friend.